Sweet guys, welcome into our first informal Friday news roundup. Today we're in the beautiful Russell Square, and I promise you these sights are just going to get even better. Even as the temperature gets colder, I am dedicated to you guys. I'm going to go places where no other cameraman, realist will go, and that's a promise to you guys. So today's the news roundup. First thing on our plate is this. The war in Syria, right? This is probably the biggest international issue. We're going to do some videos surrounding it, but the big thing to take away from this week is U.S. and Russia relations are kind of at an all-time low since the end of the Cold War, and it just revolves around the fundamental vision that Russia has for Syria and that the U.S. has for Syria, and probably for Russia a little bit of power politicking on the international stage. It's not all just about Syria. It's also about increasing Russia's standing in the world by being able to posture and actually seem like an equal in negotiating with the United States. But that's something to keep an eye out for. Obviously, we've had some more big developments in the amazingly awesome and hopeful U.S. election. So obviously the revelations about Trump coming out, about sexual harassment. We had that horrible sort of audio with video when he's in the bus with Billy Bush, and they're talking about some just terrible things, some sexual assault things. This happened 10 or 11 years ago. We've also had other allegations come out in the New York Times about sexual misadventures in the past and some of the things that he's done. Ultimately, what it comes down to this. For the realist, this wasn't really much of a surprise. I mean, if this comes as a shock to you, as a surprise that Donald Trump would do this, I would kind of question whether you've actually looked at his career and looked at the things that he said. And what I've heard from Republicans, particularly conservative Republicans, sort of real Christian right-wing Republicans, who are still backing Trump is this. We're not backing Donald Trump because of who he is, because the character of the man. We're actually backing him because of his fundamental vision for America. Now, you can agree with that or you can disagree with that, but that's the stance that they take. They're valuing his policies over his character. The realist says, okay, you can go down that road, but probably for the rest of history, you can't use character as a good excuse to either vote for someone or smear someone in a future campaign. The Republicans, you've kind of lost your ability to do that. However, Republicans might counter and say, well, Donald Trump had a bad week, but you can just look at Hillary Clinton. WikiLeaks has been releasing a bunch of sort of information about her cozy relationship, some might say manipulative relationship with the press, her even cozier relationship with Wall Street, and some really sort of shady things that went on in the State Department revolving the huge email scandal and some of her influence with Clinton Foundation supporters and donors and how political favors were done. So on the one hand, you've got Donald Trump, who's sort of, let's be honest, kind of a reprobate. On the other hand, you've got Hillary Clinton, who is the embodiment of what people hate about corrupt politics. There are your choices for the American election, guys. Go out there, vote, be happy. At the end, we can all go outside in Russell Square and light ourselves on fire. The last few things for the weekend is this. The Thai king died. He was ruling in Thailand for over 70 years, very well respected. He's sort of the embodiment of the progressive, of bringing development into Thailand, so obviously some mourning going on there. We've got the U.S. is fired on Houthi positions in Yemen because the Houthis actually attacked U.S. Navy ships, so watch that dynamic because I'm sure the U.S. wants to get into another war engagement in the Middle East. I'm sure it'll go great just like all the other ones have. And the last but not least, we're talking a little bit about Brexit. Obviously, we know the EU referendum for Brexit passed, the referendum for Brexit went through, the people voted to exit. An interesting sort of development is Scotland has just put forward another referendum that they want to have about leaving Britain. You'll remember that they've already had a referendum. They voted to stay with Britain, but now they're going to have another one in light of the EU developments. And if Scotland chooses to leave the UK and opt for the EU, that'll be a big blow to Britain, and it'll be a big boost to the EU that someone would be more willing that Scotland would be more willing to stay with the EU than to stay with Britain. So that's the weekly roundup. We'll catch you on Monday with our next episode of Historical Mondays. We're doing this part 2 of the Afghanistan war, or actually part 1. We haven't done part 2 yet, so we're doing part 1. And yeah, we'll see you then, guys. Until then, remember, reality always trumps ideology.